Welcome to Identity and Media, the podcast where we inform you on the critical topics and current events relating to identity. Today on Identity and Media, I'm going to be talking about intersectionality and advocacy on social media. First, I'll delve into the history a little bit, point out some key figures, define the term, and then talk about a social media post that relates to the topic. To start, a key figure in terms of research on the intersection between race, gender, and class was feminist theorist Patricia Hill Collins. Her work covered a lot about the power dynamics that come along with identity. Her work seemed to sort of set the foundation for what Kimberly Crenshaw coins intersectionality in 1989. Crenshaw coined this as a way to conceptualize or analyze the overlapping effects of social identity on an individual and to sort of address the invisibility that these individuals face based on their minority identities that overlap. Prior to her work, researchers and even feminists focused overwhelmingly on the white woman, or more specifically, the upper-class white woman, excluding other women from this analysis or conversation. This brings us to the definition of intersectionality, which is that it's a framework that looks at the multiple levels of discrimination and oppression amplified by forms of prejudice. To give an example of this, if someone identifies as being female, being African American, and being gay, these identities would most likely combine to form discrimination, and these identities could even be left out of feminist conversations. Intersectionality is a more inclusive lens, recognizing how issues relating to identity, such as racism, homophobia, and sexism in this case, can affect one's lived experiences in terms of social life, career, and so on. In terms of policy, shortly after intersectionality is coined, certain governments begin to recognize that certain people face more discrimination than others. So we get things such as the Equality and Human Rights Commission, which enforces equality. However, there's still much more to be done. It's currently March, so that means that it's Women's History Month. This means that it's a great time to get on social media and learn from those who are posting about intersectional feminism and female-presenting identities. I'm going to highlight a key post that I saw on Instagram. I wanted to highlight Devin Blow, a Black female artist based in LA that has been sharing her designs and prints with the world on Instagram, specifically as a way to educate others. In light of the start of Women's History Month, she posted a cluster of images with texts, starting with one that reminds audiences to, quote, keep Women's History Month intersectional. She discusses how the women's rights movement is exclusionary without considering the rights of all women, especially women who are negatively affected by overlapping forms of systemic oppression. I think that it's crucial that she points out that, quote, the fight for women's rights is not one size fits all. Now, this relates back to what I was saying earlier about how feminists must widen their lenses from just focusing on upper-class, privileged white women. It was great to see how a lot of people were reposting and highlighting not just her artwork, but the vital messages she seems to seamlessly work into her art. More broadly speaking, social media has become a great platform for advocating ideas, especially in terms of understanding identity. Social media is also a tool that has the power to influence public opinions and bring ideas to light, demonstrating why it's a great platform to talk about intersectionality and unique lived experiences. You can find Devin on Instagram at @DevThePineapple. She has some awesome work on her page, and it's certainly worth checking out. So, to wrap up a bit here, overall, it's important to recognize all the components of one's identity: their race, gender, class, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and so on, as they all affect one's individual lived experiences. It's also crucial to look at these in terms of the social hierarchy and recognize that certain identities have more dominance or power in society, and other specific identities are more prone to marginalization, oppression, and prejudice. This recognition will help us on the journey to combat systemic oppression and combat harmful societal norms and structures. That's all for this episode. Until next time, this has been Identity and Media.